You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by Heather Dyer and Aaron Walker. We're on a mission to inspire home cooks like us to try new recipes and make good food. Hello and happy summer from Three Kitchens Podcast. I'm Aaron Walker.
And I'm Heather Dyer, and we're your hosts, as you know.
And you're also going to hear from our third host that used to join us every Tuesday, Sarah Somasundaram. We are digging out from our archives an episode all about garlic scapes because we love them so much. And we've done some great recipes over the last few years that you can use garlic scapes in. And so we thought, let's dig this up, because if you haven't gone back and listened to some of our older episodes, I think this is a good one. And we've got some new things to add to it.
'Tis the season.
Yes.
In our part of the world, garlic scapes are, well, my garlic failed to come out of the ground this year.
Oh.
So I don't have any scapes, but I'm told there are scapes ready to harvest in other gardens.
My dill self-seeded in my garlic patch. And so I have a forest of dill through which I have to peek and find my garlic. And there are scapes on there. They're starting.
Oh, good. So you have discovered, maybe unintentionally discovered, that dill and garlic can grow together as companion plants.
They seem to be growing.
Yeah, I always think oh no, this is going to be the thing that the reason the garlic won't come up is because all this dill jumped over or whatever, but that's good to know.
Well, for now it's working. I'll let you know. My garlic didn't come up great this year. I tried planting from my own crop of garlic last year. Because I harvest my scapes off, I wonder if, maybe we should back up.
Yeah.
The scape is the flower and the bloom on the garlic. And when you harvest that off, that means that your garlic does not go to flower. And I wonder if that affects the germination of the bulbs, because my garlic didn't come up great this year. And I'm not sure if I planted the ones specifically that bloomed or not.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, if anybody's listening, perhaps our friend Karen from Just Grow Something podcast.
Yeah.
She's the expert on all these things. Perhaps you can comment on social media and let us know if that has something to do with it.
Yeah.
That very well could be. I mean, I don't remember exactly what. I think I did the same last year. I think I just saved some of the garlic that had come up from that year, and I planted it in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it didn't come up at all. So
I had terrible success rate this year, and things that you learn. So
when the garlic comes up and it looks kind of like a grass, and then the center comes up and it curls around, and that's where the flower bud is at the end, and this is the scape. So once it curls all the way kind of around, then you snip it down by the leaves so that the energy will go to the bulb to finish growing. But you have this beautiful scape. So you're not letting it open. The flower is not open. It's like a cute little bulb. It's kind of like a bulb shape.
It's a little bud on the end.
Yeah,
there.
bud. There,
and it kind of looks like a bird's head or like a swan head. I think they call them swan-necked.
Yeah. So that's the scape. And it tastes like garlic but milder, like just a mild garlic flavor.
I was going to say it's got like all the garlicky flavor, but it doesn't have that spiciness that kind of comes along with a fresh clove of garlic.
And fragrant too. The scapes are not as fragrant. You don't get that garlic smell to it.
No, we did discover some good ways of making it. We made a pesto with it, and we also pickled them. And if you don't have time to go do this right away with your scapes, because goodness knows we're all running around a little bit crazy right now, I did find out that you can take all these scapes off, chop them up, throw them in a mason jar, and just toss them into your freezer. You can't go and pickle them after that. So if you want to pickle them, you got to do that right away. But you can go and make the pesto from this, and then it's like fresh scape garden pesto in the middle of winter. And I've been doing this now all year from my harvest last year, and I still have a few more left to go after.
I do too. And you know what? I just didn't even chop mine up. I put them whole, like they're all twisty, and I just threw them all into a Ziploc freezer bag and tossed it in the freezer. And I just pulled out a couple of them the other day and chopped them up with some onions and things that I was making a spaghetti sauce. And I just tossed that in there because I was digging around in the freezer. You know, when you're making something and you're like, what have I got in the freezer that needs to be used up? And I was like, oh, there's scapes in here. Let's just toss some of those in. I also made a garlic salt by dehydrating. I'm trying to remember now. This was a while ago, but I chopped dehydrated and then kind of mixed it with a coarse salt. So now then you would take that, put it in your mortar with your pestle and kind of crush it up and put it into any soup or stew, or I still have some of that from last year too.
I think I ran through that really fast.
It's a good way to preserve because it's dehydrated, so it's dried, which preserves it. But then also I think that putting it with salt,
it just brings out that flavor.
Yeah.
And was it a year ago? We've got a recipe for making pesto eggs for breakfast. And if you've got this garlic scape pesto hanging around in your fridge or freezer, oh my gosh, you just pop it into your pan as you would your butter and you fry your egg in it. You put it on some toast, or if you've got sourdough bread, and a little sprinkle of feta cheese and chili flakes. And oh my gosh, is that ever a delicious breakfast, lunch, midnight snack?
Anytime. That was from an episode, not specifically the scape pesto, but pesto eggs that Sarah, she made us pesto eggs and Dalgona coffee. Remember when that was a trend on Instagram and people were whipping up coffee? Oh, the whole breakfast is so delicious. Go and find that episode too. We'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Yeah. So enjoy this discussion and revival on some scape recipes. We enjoyed them a few years back in a little garden party. We had a evening of drinks and crostinis that I made with that pesto, and maybe we'll have to do that again.
Yes, please. I'm there. I don't have any scapes to bring, but I'll be there if you've got the scapes.
Okay. I'll try and I'll see what I can get out of my scapes, but thankfully I still have some frozen from last year.
We can still make pesto.
You bet. Excellent. Well, enjoy. I was going through the garden and weeding and stuff, and I was like, oh my God, all these scapes have come up. I don't know what to do with these. So I am going to test out 3 different recipes with my garlic scapes. We will see.
Which means we get to test it out. Yeah.
And then I can determine from that what to do with mine, because I've got to start cutting mine soon too. And I don't have nearly as many. I just have a small patch.
Right. So I've gone into chatelaine.com and I've looked up some recipes. So the first one I'm going to try is a pickled garlic scape. You know, might as well start our preserving season up right away here. So it's got garlic scapes in it, vinegar, sugar, water, salt, peppercorns, and chili peppers. It's just going to be a refrigerator pickle. You clean your garlic scapes. They're going to kind of sit in a curled coil in the jar. So the picture of them I think is going to look really pretty.
Cool.
You combine your vinegar, sugar, water, salt, and peppercorns, boil it, dissolve your sugar, and then you just pour that hot mixture over your scapes that are in your jars. You add your chilies in after that, and then you just let them sit in your fridge for 2 weeks.
Oh, only 2 weeks. That's
nice. And
nice.
then after that, you can use them for up to a month.
Nice.
Some of the suggestions they have is serve them in a salad as like as a garnish, or in place of gherkins in a potato salad. So I think that sounds really interesting as like I always like that pickled little bit in a potato salad. So I think I might go and try that.
Okay, so I know if you're giving some to us, I know what I'm going to do with mine.
Awesome.
I'm going to make a Caesar, one of those drinks. And I'm going to put that in.
Great idea.
Because I always like a pickle in my Caesar. And I hardly ever have Caesars. Do you guys have them often? I always forget
Yeah,
to get the
it's like a
ingredients for them, and
rare
then I,
thing, but when you have one, it's like
yeah,
so satisfying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I
totally.
like that idea.
Maybe we can eke out some time
We
and we
can.
can, okay, we are going to eke out some time and we
Yes.
can make Caesars with these scapes together. And we
It'd be
will
so
enjoy
good.
all the other iterations together. It'll be like
Yes.
Totally.
Garlic Scape Central, and
Hmm.
hopefully nobody else will come near us.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah.
nobody will want to for a few days at least.
People will approach us and be like, nope,
That's
too
funny.
soon. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so the next thing I'm gonna try and attempt, also from Chatelaine, is a garlic scape pesto.
Mm.
You chop up your garlic scapes. You're gonna have toasted pine nuts, grated Parmesan, canola oil, lemon juice, and salt. So if anyone has listened to this podcast before, you know I'll be substituting
Lemon juice and
the
salt.
salted lemons for the lemon
No.
juice and salt.
No way.
Groundbreaking. All right, so I mean, now that this has salted lemons in it, we know it's just going to be amazing, and we'll drool over it and talk about it for days.
Mhm.
I'm tempted to make a pasta with it because they do that, but you can also
Yeah.
put it on, make something called crostini, and I believe it's like
Okay.
little toast slices with the pesto. And so I'm going to try, I think I'm going to make up some little appies because I think that would go well with our Caesars.
I think
yes.
so.
Reading a
Oh my
menu as we
gosh.
go here.
This is, yeah.
I made scape pesto last year with mine. I
Ah,
even found my picture from Instagram. It had the scapes and olive oil, but I had walnuts because
yeah.
that's what I happened to have on hand.
Instead of pine
Yeah,
nuts,
instead
you
of
mean?
pine nuts, but it had
Yeah.
lemon and salt and like all the same things.
Did you know about preserved
I
lemons
sure
then,
did
Heather?
not. So
So restart.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what I
Back to
had?
zero.
I have it written right here on my thing. We had it with grilled chicken and zoodles, zucchini noodles.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah.
So, and it was quite good. And one of the hashtags that I put on here, maybe this is a warning, it was packs a punch. So I remember it being like, woo, quite intense
yeah.
garlic. So,
Okay.
Right.
which is good. We all like garlic, so it's going to be good.
I think this sounds like the
Yeah.
perfect date night for the three of us.
Totally.
All right. And the third thing that I'm going to try doing, and I don't really have a recipe for this, I've just heard of this, but I feel like I can accomplish it without a recipe. You can just pick them fresh, wash them, olive, salt, and pepper, and grill them on your barbecue.
Oh,
And apparently they have an asparagus-like taste.
Oh,
When,
interesting.
like
Oh.
it's asparagus-like if you grill them like that.
so it must
Woodsy.
totally tone down the garlic.
I'm
flavor
assuming it
then.
must really do something to change it up when you grill it like that, but I
Hmm.
can't remember where I heard this or read this, but I know that at some point last year, because I had a few garlic scapes, I came across this suggestion on somebody's food blog. I mean, we're digging back memories from a year ago. So, I mean,
Mhm.
it's a mighty pile to dig through.
I like this idea. Almost any
Yeah.
kind of like it's a sturdy enough
Yeah.
stock that you could
Yeah.
grill it without it kind of falling to mush, you know.
Yes. And I remember just reading cook it like you would asparagus on the grill. So you want it to be hot, you want it to brown, and you
quick.
want it to be
Yes.
quick. So
Yum.
I'm-
Nice.
I think I'm gonna have enough to do that.
Totally.
It's such a crazy versatile plant, you know, because you get
Mhm.
the scape, which you
Yeah.
trim in order to send more energy to grow the bulb. So
That's
you need to
right.
trim it anyways in order to allow that bulb to grow better.
That's right. That's really
Mhm.
important.
You've got this piece of it that you've had to trim off, and it's like, well, what do you do with it now? So it's like, but that piece in itself is so great.
It's so tasty. Yeah.
It's like your first hint of fresh garlic in the season.
Yeah, I love it.
It's
Yeah.
kind of like an early treat that you get out of your garden.
Yeah. Well, an early treat I get out of your
Yes.
garden.
I think you can like chop it up like you would a spring onion
Mhm.
and put that on like
Mhm.
whatever you're making.
Like a garnish.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I just have too much garnish now. Now it's become excessive.
Like your
So,
chives. You have
yes.
a problem with like excessive small things that you only use a little bit of.
and my tarragon plant that just went boom.
Oh, okay. So here's another question about scapes and chives
Oh,
and all
sure.
that stuff. Is there any way of keeping them over a few months? Like, can you freeze them? Can you dry them? Is there something else you
I
can
imagine
do?
you could dry it. I should put some in the dehydrator and see what happens. You could probably
Ooh,
make like any herb that you dry. I bet you could do that.
be really interesting to try out. So pickling
the
it will
pickle.
make it last longer.
Yeah.
Pickling. That's right. Pickling would.
The pesto can be frozen.
Oh,
Okay.
that's right. Didn't you freeze it in ice cube trays, Heather?
I did. And then I just popped the cubes into a Ziploc and we pulled that out in the middle of winter. But honestly, I didn't use it all because I kind of forgot. And then it's in the back of the freezer. And I'm like, I would say if like 2 to 3 months maybe in your freezer. And beyond that, it's not going to be as fresh, I don't think.
That sounds right. Yeah.
But you can make it last a little longer. It's all an experiment. You could try just putting the scapes in the freezer and pull them out a month or two later and see what you got.
It's all an experiment. And I, my friend, am your lab rat. So experiment away.
All right, guinea pigs.
I'm going to get the Caesars ready. Yoo-hoo.
Mark your calendars. Prepare your list. It is going to be scape date night.
Don't bother brushing your teeth.
Tell your husband to sleep in the basement that night because you're just going to ooze garlic when you get home.
Hey, Erin, let's take a quick break to tell the listener all about our website.
I really love that if you want to hear our story about these recipes, you can tune into us. But when you want to make them, they're just a click away. No scrolling.
Just get right to it.
Exactly.
Usually at the end of a recipe, we give you a few ways to zhuzh it up. Either a way to serve it, a way to modify it, tips for how we like to eat it, and of course, all of our episodes, including the speakeasy bonus episodes and the drink recipes, that's all on there. So visit us over at threekitchenspodcast.com.
So we're back. Erin.
Hello, hello.
Scapes. How did they turn out?
Scapes were good. I tried out 3 different recipes, as we talked about. So I'll make this like you make a compliment sandwich, where you start with a good thing, you have the bad thing in the middle, and then you end on a good thing.
Sounds good.
So the first thing that I did is I went out into the garden and I harvested off all my scapes. I think I have about 50 to 55 garlic plants.
Wow.
Is what I remember counting. So it's a lot of garlic plants.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice, however, though, when I was harvesting it out, they were starting to get a little bit, what's the word for it when your asparagus is like
woody?
Woody. There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you. So it was getting a little bit woody because they were kind of hard to trim. So I think I left them on there for a little bit too long. Some cases that was a problem, and some things it wasn't. So as soon as the scapes were out, I started working on the pickling of them because that was going to take 2 weeks to sit in the fridge in their brine. So the brine was really easy. Cider vinegar, sugar, water, a little bit of salt, pepper, and some chili pepper that I used there. So it all mixed together really easily. They coiled up nicely and popped into my jars, filled them up, and just let them sit for 2 weeks. So I mean, the process was nothing. And then we enjoyed those with Caesars the other night.
I love those pickled scapes. Those were so good.
Yes. And you know,
So
they were
delicious.
so
Yummy.
sweet. And I didn't really remember how I made it. And so it was a lot of sugar in there. It was sugar and cider vinegar were the main pickling ingredients. There was only just a tablespoon of salt.
Mm-hmm.
You could really, once you told us, because we were like, what's in here? And once you said it was the vinegar, then like I really noticed that cider vinegar in it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it just sopped it up. And those were really good.
So did we explain what a Caesar is? I think our Canadian friends will totally understand what it is, but maybe outside of Canada, this might be something new.
Yeah, that's a good point, Sarah. You guys made them. I just provided the scapes.
So a Caesar is an ounce of vodka or more if you want, and then you top it with something called clamato juice, which is a mix of tomato juice and clam juice, a little bit of clam juice. And I know it sounds awful, but it's really tasty, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you usually top it with, see now, like I'm screwed up with the W word, Worcestershire sauce, and a little bit of hot sauce. And then you put something pickled in it that tends to be like a pickled bean or pickled asparagus.
A pickled cucumber.
Yeah, a pickle.
You can put just a stalk of celery in it.
Yep.
if you
Lots
Stalk
of
of
want.
people do
celery.
celery.
And
Yeah.
then now you can put some pickled scapes.
Ah.
So it's very close to a Bloody Mary, but it's got that clam element to it in
Mhm.
And
Canada.
I think one of the important parts is salting the rim
That's
of your
right.
glass before, because
Mhm.
then you get that salt or spice with every sip as you make your way around
Yes.
the
Yeah,
rim
That's
as you
how
drink
I
it.
drink it. Just keep turning it.
You just have to turn it for every sip. You
Yeah.
know, before you guys came, I had some limes. And so I used lime juice to wet the rim. And then I made a celery seed and salt and pepper
That was
mixture
really
and
good.
just dipped
Yeah,
the
it was
glasses
good.
in that. I really liked that.
Yeah, it was really good. I liked the celery salt in that. It was really a
Mhm.
great idea.
And they're really good if you don't want to drink them with vodka too.
Hmm
Yeah.
They're a really tasty drink if you like a virgin drink and you want something that is a little bit special.
Yeah,
But
tasty.
it's not usually the thing that you have, like it's a rare
Mm.
kind of drink, right? You don't have it very often because it's like
It's quite filling, right?
savory, yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like spicy.
Yeah,
And you don't want to
Yeah.
eat too much with it. It kind of stands on its own because
That's
it's
right.
got so much
Yeah.
flavor and stuff in it.
it's like a cold soup is really what it's like.
Yeah, kind of is.
Yeah.
Right.
It kind
But
of
it's delicious.
is.
I know this doesn't sound good, but it is a very iconic drink here. And
Mhm. Does clamato juice exist everywhere?
no,
No, it's a Canadian
it's
thing,
a very
I think.
Canadian thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
didn't realize that.
So that was really good.
So that was delicious. The
Mhm.
pickled scapes, definitely going to do that again.
Nice.
So as I alluded to with harvesting them, they were kind of woody and just not as soft and tender as you kind of want them to be, I think, for doing the grilling part, which was
Okay.
the second way that I made it. So just like asparagus, I covered them in some olive oil, salt and pepper, and then threw them on the barbecue.
Mhm.
And they smelled really good. You know, they kind of had a sweeter taste to them when they were grilled up as well. Like, you know how we were talking how they were sweet in the pickle? They were
Mhm.
sweet like that too when they grilled. But unfortunately, they were just, a lot of it was too woody and it was very like,
Chewy.
we kind of had to attack them to eat them. It wasn't like,
Oh.
delicious. It was like, it wasn't pretty. The kids were like, these are terrible. I hate these. Blah.
Right.
You know, and I was like, yeah, they're not my favorite, you know. And so I would say if I'm going to try that again, harvest them earlier.
Mhm.
Or listen, maybe that's how they are when you cook them that way, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Like in the past, I've only ever thrown them in the food processor and made pesto.
Right.
Yeah.
Or chopped them up and put them in, like I put them into a spaghetti sauce or something.
Right.
Right.
And I do it with the stir fries. So yeah, I
Yeah.
chop them up really small.
If you're trying to eat like a full scape in some prepared form, maybe it just is that texture.
Hmm
Maybe it is. I was a little bit disappointed, but the flavor was really interesting.
Let's talk about the third thing you made because
So the last thing that I attacked was this garlic scape pesto. So it had garlic scapes. I had toasted some pine nuts, Parmesan. I used olive oil, and then, of course, salt and lemon juice are called for. So bum,
Nice.
salted lemon.
no.
It's the ultimate 2-in-1. Anytime your recipe calls for lemon and salt, it's like, why would I do both? That's just silly.
I did end up adding some lemon juice on its own because the bite of the garlic was, whoa, when I first made the pesto. Like I
Yeah.
mixed this all together. I estimated what I thought I would put in for a lemon. So I think it was a quarter of a lemon from the salted lemon jar and only used the peel.
Huh.
Put that all together, blended it in the food processor. And as I tasted it at the end, I was like, good grief. So I added, I think another tablespoon or so of just lemon juice because I think the acid helps balance out that bite.
Right.
And then I let it sit in the fridge for 3 days because I also think the longer it sits with the acid, the bite is not as strong.
Right.
Mm.
I think.
Mhm.
Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm under the impression that the longer something like a garlic or an onion sits in an acid, it kind of calms down that spiciness
Yeah, when you pickle something, it does get mellower. Like
Yeah.
garlic gets mellower that way.
So then we made a pesto crostini.
Good.
Hmm.
That is like my new favorite thing that I just want to make all the time.
Ooh, it's so good.
Was it
It
mozzarella
was
on?
mozzarella.
Oh, it's so good.
You slice up a baguette, you put olive oil on the bottom, and on the top of your slice, you put your pesto, cheese, and then you just top it with some tomatoes. Some freshly diced tomatoes. And so I went through the effort of taking the skin off my tomatoes. I sliced it so that it was only the flesh of the tomato and kept all the seeds separate. And then I salted them a little bit a few hours before you guys came over so that, yeah, the three of those things I could live on that, I think. I've never had it before. Oh, and I made this all in the barbecue too. And that was fun. So instead of using my oven, I just kind of got my barbecue to 350 and popped it in.
Nice. Those were good. Those were
They were
addictive
good.
and so garlicky. Now I remember because Heather gave me a ride home after that night, and I got into the car and I go, "Whoa, my breath! It smells so garlicky." Because I couldn't stop eating those. I may have been the one who ate most of it.
I didn't notice, probably because I was eating it too. Although I didn't eat quite as much because I'm never sure how much cheese to trust.
Right.
So if I were to make it, I would have put more pesto and like just a sprinkle of cheese as opposed to a slice.
You should have said, give me more pesto and less. Yes.
No,
second batch.
This is not on demand. Cater to me when I come to your home. No.
Yes, it is. We're trying it out different ways. No, you totally.
It was super good. I
it was so good.
But if I were to make it, I would probably less cheese, more garlic. Bring it.
Yeah, those were intense. I felt like as soon as I walked inside my house, I felt the same way as you, Sarah. It was like all of a sudden my mouth like felt like the garlic just exploded in it, and I was like,
which I don't mind. I love garlic. I eat garlic raw, so that's not an issue for me. But I didn't realize that till I felt conscious of Heather being a little bit too close to me. I'm like, oh no, I stink.
Yeah, no, eating outside and just enjoying all of the yum.
Yeah, that was such a nice
right
evening.
next to the garden, under your apple trees.
Yeah,
it was lovely.
My yard is not anything to write home about, but it sure was nice to just spend the time outside.
It's relaxing and it's beautiful, and I don't know, it's such a nice vibe going on there.
We could also mention that another friend joined us, and she's celiac.
Yeah.
And so you used, instead of the baguette, what was it that she had?
I had a rice cracker that was like a rice and nut it was made out of. So it was just the cracker that was exchanged and just the pesto, the cheese, and the tomatoes again. So
and she really enjoyed it too. So if anybody out there can't eat the bread, try it with some kind of gluten-free cracker of your choice, and it will still be delicious.
So I would say yes to the pesto. I would say yes to the pickle.
Yes, for sure.
And grilling them up, maybe they'd be better if, this, that, and the other thing. I'd try it again, but it wasn't like, oh, wow, this was super delicious. I want this to be my veggie once the scapes come out. I'd rather put them in these two things that we can save their flavor in and really intensify it, because wow, yum, yum.
Though I will say, if you chop that scape down a little more, like dice it a little more, I think it'll be easier to it'll be more palatable.
Yeah, I think, in the past I've chopped them up and used them as my garlic in place of using a garlic root.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what to do with the amount that I had.
Right.
I love garlic, not as much as Sarah. Maybe she could have chopped up and diced and eaten 52 garlic scapes in that time, but
easily.
And they kept in my fridge actually for quite a while, just in a plastic bag to keep their moisture. And
is that how you're supposed to store them as well? You're supposed to put them in a plastic bag, because that's what you did for me, Heather,
yes,
right?
I did look that up. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in the fridge.
Or they'll just kind of dry out.
And because we were heading out camping, and I had used some in a sauce, and then I didn't have time to do anything with the rest, I threw them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. I just wanted to be able to keep them. I don't know how they'll come back out of the freezer as a whole scape. I have no idea really what to expect of that. But
worst case scenario, just toss them in a blender.
Make a pesto.
Or maybe I could put them in a dehydrator and make because I've made garlic powder before with the bulb. Maybe scape also makes a good powder. I don't
Oh,
know.
that'll be nice.
That'd be
Yeah.
something to try.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
curious how they will be in the freezer because I know once I tried that with asparagus and that was a big mistake.
Yeah, some vegetables don't survive the freezer
No,
well,
they
so
don't.
we'll have to see.
Yeah.
You'll have to let us know later on about that. Let's wrap it up there and say that scapes are definitely good for pesto, definitely good for pickling.
It's your new pickle, everyone. Scape is your new pickle.
All right.
And look at that. Garlic is like the plant that gives twice, right?
Keeps
'Cause
on
you get the
giving.
scape, and then in a couple of months, you'll get the
Yeah.
bulbs,
Yeah.
and that'll keep going through the winters. Thank you, Erin. That was really yummy.
Yes.
Hey, I'm happy to share. And anytime we can have a garden party and eat our food.
Yes, anytime.
Yes. And now for the fine print. Join us over on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and on our website at threekitchenspodcast.com. Remember, when you like, follow, subscribe, and leave a review, it helps more people find us. Thank you so much for listening.
It gives you the breath as well.
Plant that
Keeps on giving.
giving.